You are good to go.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I call this meeting to order on May 19th at 7:01 p.m. Okay, I'm going to do roll call. Is member Eileen Leahy present?
Present.
Member Debbie Yasik, is she present?
Present.
Wonderful. Chair Keanu Smith-Brown is also present. I'm going to move forward to comments submitted. Have there been any comments submitted to us for today?
No.
Okay, moving right along. And we do encourage anyone who is watching, anyone who sees this, please send us comments if you have any. Please feel free to. No one is excluded. Next is the approval of the minutes. I have taken the opportunity to review those. I'm sure everyone else has too. Is there a motion to approve of these minutes?
I didn't have any changes other than the typo that was corrected.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Okay, and I'll
Wonderful.
second.
Oh, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, great. Okay, thank you. That is unanimous. We're going to move forward to new business, which is, I would say, one of the most important parts of our roles here. And it's about election law and expanding our electorate. And so let's open the floor for us to just talk about this. The proposed recommendation to the City Council to create a task force to review, study, and make recommendations on Annapolis's election laws to the Board of Supervisors of Elections, BOSE, that's us, and to the City Council. So this will be an open conversation. I would love if we can, so we chose a task force. First off, this is where there will be one person leading, chairing the force, and this person will be directing the conversation. Of course, the members will also be a part of that process too. And different than a ad hoc committee or a commission, this will still be temporary, as those are sometimes temporary, but it's going to be working with the Annapolis City Council to appoint these members. Of course, an ad hoc committee or a committee is usually within the board or within the membership that you currently have. So we will be reaching out to get additional members or people who are interested to do this research and to help make these changes.
Right. My hope also is that this will allow us to bring on people that may not be in the city of Annapolis in terms of residents, but have expertise either at the state level or other levels as far as election law. So.
Absolutely.
Now, for the task force work, they are going to just go into more depth than what the Charter Review Commission recommended. So Eileen, you were on the Charter Review Commission, and part of what you all recommended involved election law, which is our subject matter. Would this be just diving in deeper on what you all recommended?
I mean, judging from, going back to the report that came out of the last group, I mean, pretty much the entire section of election code and charter need to be reviewed. For the most part, really needs to be fleshed out, needs to be updated, but there are some real priorities that need to be done, which I outlined in the paper that I sent to you all that really need to be done first. My experience with the City Council in terms of the last work session, though, is that they also would like to have additional resources. So I think having a task force that can do that deep dive, come up with some advantages and disadvantages, and have the expertise and experience in those areas would be helpful to the City Council in terms of making some decisions. Certainly the decision about partisan, nonpartisan needs to be made first because there are entirely different ways of approaching it. Now, that may or may not need to be part of the task force. That could be something that this board could say, yes, the commission basically recommended it go on the ballot question because it just doesn't get answered. Right. But the City Council needs to make that decision actually sooner. So, kind of what had been discussed before was having a task force with a member, one of us, either leading it or it could be another chair, but being a liaison, which would expand the ability of this group. So some of the other recommendations like expanding the board isn't necessarily in the right order as far as some of the other things that need to be done. So as far as, doing the resolution really just gets the ball rolling. My understanding is that there is at least one alder person who is willing to sponsor it, but probably has some, would like to have some questions or some other experience. So I would see the next step being, if we all agree that we want to move forward with recommending a task force, then it would be meeting with at least this alder person, probably also the mayor's office, and just kind of getting that ball rolling. There's different approaches that could be taken, but I think my experience, and I'll kind of also ask Regina and Ashley their feedback, is that so much of it's interconnected. We almost really need to do the whole thing. We've tried patching in the past and the patches look good, but the rest of it doesn't. What are your thoughts, Ashley or Regina?
I agree. Exactly what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need to work on it, and people need to realize that it's time sensitive. We're already in the second year of this term, so we have to get it done ASAP. And the city council has a lot of other items on their agenda, so we need to make sure this doesn't slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
Right, and at least get the ball rolling for some legislative, hopefully even legislative changes in the fall. There's, in addition to the nonpartisan versus partisan, there's also, if we stick with partisan elections, moving the primary date. I can't remember the other part of it, but I laid it out. There's those things have to be done sooner rather than later, even before August, to just get the go ahead, because once we get those kind of quote unquote marching orders, then we know what direction to go in.
Okay, so because I know there's multiple other avenues to go down aside from the open primary, ranked choice voting, the partisan, nonpartisan. I know I've had conversations about our contribution limits. I know I've had conversations about the voter age. I know I've had conversations about automatic resident voter registration.
Those are all things that have to be discussed, but
exactly,
the primary one is partisan versus nonpartisan, because that's going to tell us what road to get on.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also things that we have to balance with state law. So there's certain things that we can do it at the municipal level, and some things we won't be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the last two, other than the 2021 Charter Review Commission, the one 10 years prior to that and 10 years prior to that, they all recommended nonpartisan elections. Do you think, Eileen, that those basically what the CRCs did in the past, pretty much all of them worked so hard, and then whatever was suggested for the most part just was forgotten and not implemented, because it goes to the council to implement. And again, the council has a lot going on. So sometimes these items just never were fulfilled.
Right.
Do you think this task force, this resolution, it seems to me like this is a good effort to keep the ball rolling and not let the CRC recommendations become forgotten for whatever reason.
Right. Well, the previous years when the commissions have made the recommendation for nonpartisan, they were acted on and they were voted down.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reality is we have a council that is predominantly one party. There's also a strong feeling on many parts that the opportunity has been put out there for nonpartisan advocates to move it forward, and they haven't done it in the past, which is why the current commission decided, and I'm speaking from my perspective as far as what I think the discussion was, because I wasn't on that particular elections piece, but that, we could put it as a ballot question and let the voters decide, but that's 2025. We have to do something sooner. So I think that this, judging from the work session in February, I believe that the city council is willing to hear about nonpartisan, to get some additional information. The questions that come out is, what is the reason for the change? Is it to promote voters? Is it to promote candidates? Is it to promote, what is the reason for the change? And that hasn't really been clear in the past, at least from what I've read.
I would say it's coming at multiple angles. It's for the voter, it's for the candidate. We should be working to find an answer for everyone so that everyone can have access, or at least a candidate who may not be familiar with the process. It's easier for them if it's a first-time candidate. And then for the voter who is a first-time voter, I know going into this, I'm fresh. I don't have all of these complications to go through. It's no primaries, no this. I support the conversation around partisan or nonpartisan, but if partisan, allowing it to be an open primary, seeing that unaffiliated voters are really the voters that are often ignored.
Right. So that would certainly be at the next tier in terms of how you want to approach it. And there are just some realities as far as implementing it. It doesn't mean it couldn't be. I mean, there are some others. I mean, there's quite a few municipalities in Maryland that have done it. I don't think that we've really looked at it to find out how they did it. You know, I think Hagerstown is relatively new at going nonpartisan. Salisbury has done it. I have to say, though, unfortunately, the political climate has changed quite a bit since some of these municipalities have done it. I have to say, my experience with the last election was the high degree of partisanism, really actually more so outside of the city, the pressures that were felt at a county and a national level, even on us at a municipal level. And I think that that's something that was a big difference for me, having served in 2017 and served in 2021. And I don't know how that's going to be moving forward. But again, I think having, to your point, Debbie, also just to get all the information out there, you know, get some good information from some experts, look at what some other municipalities have done, and then present that to the city council with some options. And if they ask for what other options, such as, you know, what you were saying, Keanu, you know, an open primary, would that be? But again, some of the challenges also that are mentioned as far as first-time candidates and things like that, those are things that can be also managed through change in the election law. Not necessary, whether those things need to be done, whether it's partisan or nonpartisan. Mm-hmm. And kind of, I think as you all get more familiar with the election code, some of those things come up. Like, for instance, you know, one of the people will say, well, it's difficult if you're not a Republican or a Democrat to get on, to get your name on the ballot. Well, if you look at the code, you need, correct me if I'm wrong, Regina, if you're running for mayor, you need 500 signatures. If you're running for alderman, you need 100. My personal,
you sounds right.
Yeah, I mean, my personal, you know, if you want to run for alderman and you want to win, you need to be able to get 100 signatures. So I think also talking to candidates and finding out what did they find was an obstacle, because I think we all make a lot of assumptions about what people's experiences are with the election code, and we really need to go out and ask people.
You know, a lot of those questions that you're posing, they can be answered in our candidate packet manual that we created for the last election. It had a wealth of information in it, and we thought it was very helpful to candidates.
Right. Probably underutilized.
Yes, I mean, we made people sign for them, but with some of the questions we received during the election cycle, I don't think too many people read it. It would have been very helpful to a lot of people if they had just taken the time to read it.
Well, I was impressed that the CRC did recommend at least, you know, putting on the ballot or talking about the nonpartisan elections, because of the 9 members, none of them were Republicans. They were all Democrat or independent or Green. So, you know, there was not a Republican voice on that panel that recommended nonpartisan elections. And of the 157 cities in the state of Maryland, only 3 still have partisan elections. So I just appreciate, looking into it. It's been looked into or not looked into over time. And we've tried the petition and, we've tried the council vote and it keeps coming back as you know, Eileen, so, and Regina. So it'll be, I think this is a good way to work on a lot of the issues. But like you said, that's probably the top, the one that kind of filters down into other aspects as well.
Well, the whole framework of the election law it's 2 different paths to take.
Yeah.
So
I'm hoping that it would help heal divides. If you're nonpartisan and you're campaigning on your platform or your goals, your personality, I'm hoping it would make us one Annapolis and not have all these factions and colors and names and R's and D's, and it would let the independents and the Green Party come back, to the table.
right. Well, they have that opportunity currently. And I'll be honest with you, we didn't hear from the Green Party or the nonpartisan or the independents pushing for it. We that wasn't where the efforts were coming from. So, but again, just more study.
Yeah, so it says of not less than 500 for mayor and not less than 100 for alderperson, by the way. And for the process, Regina, for the resolution, would we have to craft it where we would define how many members it would be, where these members would come from, who from our board would be on there,
The first thing that, in my opinion, that you should do is have a conversation with the administration to see if the mayor would want to be the sponsor of the resolution to create the task force, because it's his job basically to create task force. So you might want to make an appointment to have one of you, the members, make an appointment to speak to the mayor.
Phenomenal. Okay, I can definitely support and lead on that. And I know it can't be more than one person.
That's right, one person.
Right. Yeah. So, okay, so I'll talk with you then, Regina, on how we can get that done. And for the resolution specifically, when speaking with the mayor or another city council member, then is when we would describe the detail of who would be on it, what it would be. Okay, so, okay.
Well, you do realize that if the mayor sponsors a resolution, they can add memberships. The council could decide that they want, you might say we need a certain amount of people. They could amend it to change it. So just want to give you that let you know that they could change it, get it done, but maybe they might have different ways of getting it done. So.
All right. Okay. Was there any? I think what we'll do is we should definitely correspond before that meeting so I can make sure, or whoever we can make sure that we bring all of the detail and explanation and thoughts behind this to the mayor or another city council member. Debbie, I know you had mentioned about the Republican. Yeah, I know you had mentioned about the Republican. And as I was thinking about this, just for us to talk a little bit through it, for it to be fair, saying that I know we're heavy Democrat, I think for a task force, it would make sense if the chair was maybe unaffiliated, or if the chair, wasn't coming from a party, so that the other party members didn't feel that there was a bias. I know that the chair would be selected and we would trust that they would do the job appropriately and not have any bias that way. But as I'm thinking about nonpartisan, I know the heavy push has been for our unaffiliated in the party that isn't leading to have more of a say in the process, that it may make sense to have a chair who may not have an affiliation. And that's just us talking about it, just thoughts and having a conversation about that, about membership, possibly eight members from each ward, a member from each ward.
You have to have an odd number.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I know. Perfect. Okay. So
can I just say, I'm thinking a little differently. I really see this task force as needing to be a group of experts with within the city and without, but I think if we start getting into having to get one from each ward, I mean, we need some representation, but this is really a task force. It's going to be 6 months. It's going to be a worker bee group.
Mhm.
And I
Sure.
want to stress that. So it's really researching what's being done and getting done. Once the decision of partisan versus partisan is done, it's almost sitting down and just looking at what's there. So I just want to be a little cautious about making it bigger than maybe it needs to be, or at least from my perspective.
No, absolutely. And that's why we're talking it through. I was just throwing out, thoughts from other boards, commissioners, like the ward boundaries, we had support, and seeing that this is elections, and we want representation from across the city and not just outsiders or people who have that expertise, instead of them coming on to speak with the task
Right.
force members versus them being actual members on the task force who will make that final decision to give to us to then
Right.
share with the city.
I would just be cautious about talking about representation from the whole city, because if you're talking about 8 wards, then you're talking about 8 people plus other people. And you want to keep this to like 5 people, 7 maybe. So again, the 3 of us are also representative of the city. So, it may, another way of going is, Republican, Democrat, nonpartisan, that sort of thing. And just finding out who are some of the experts in the area and who are willing to do the research. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, I mean, I agree with the need for diversity and for some representation, but having been on the Charter Commission and knowing how long it took them to get that, and then, I think many people on even the Charter Commission will admit that they had very little experience with government. And so we really need people that have that expertise and experience.
Okay, well, please, if we have any thoughts about those people, let's start thinking about those people, those experts. Even if it is a representative from Hagerstown, as you mentioned, them having a nonpartisan election. Or, I mean, we can even look at our own process with Board of Education. That's nonpartisan. We know how that works. And it's been quite smooth. I won't say fully, but it's been, it's been smooth for a good part of it. Okay.
Well, MML, and I think Eileen is a good tie. I mean, Eileen, you've got, you're coming from the CRC, you're coming from, our group, BOES. So you have a lot up here. So definitely, you would be the glue that, but like Maryland Municipal League, has
Right, exactly.
experts. I don't know about Mako, but maybe the community college or St. John's or,
Well, and there's actually someone over at the Naval Academy that has identified themselves. And then, you can also bring people into meetings such as somebody from Hagerstown and that sort of thing. But there are some people that are out there. I still think you need to open it up. So if people want to self-nominate, but again, keep it on a tight response. And again, that once we talk with the mayor's office and also some of the alderpersons, we'll get a better feel for exactly what they're looking for. But if we can kind of have a little consensus again of kind of keeping it as a tight, real working group, I think that would be helpful. And for the 3 of us to start, identifying some people. I mean, we might want to look at, some people that have been on the Board of Elections in the past. There was a large ad hoc committee that was put together after the 2013 committee. And it was a great group of people, but it took over a year. I mean, it was such a big group, and there were so many meetings and so many discussions that it was, I think, well over a year and a half before the recommendations were actually coming out. And we don't have that kind of time.
Okay. No, I agree with that. And, and I'm glad we're talking about this, because I'm gonna tell you, this is one of the main reasons why I'm here, to really push to bring more voters into our process. And so I say, let's get it done. So Regina, I should probably call you sometime soon to set up some time to do that, do the meetings. And of course, I want to check in with you two as well first before I say or do anything, because this is very serious. We're about to do something that's possibly never been done, and it's never been done in our city. if we even get anything passed through the city
Right.
council.
And I'm certainly willing and available to meet with the mayor and the older people also, if you'd like. So,
Now for real, are we able to, could we all just Regina, would we all be able to set aside, okay, this person can meet with these three alder person, this person can meet with these three? Could we do that type of?
That's totally up to you guys. As long as you're not a quorum, two of you together is a quorum. And that requires a posting for a meeting.
Okay, I think that actually may be one of the best ways we could do it. Two, and two, two, 4, 6, and then we need 2, and then 3. So 3, 2, and the mayor. Yeah, I think that would be perfect. If each of us had 3 persons, you had the mayor.
I don't think we have to talk to everybody necessarily. I think we start with the mayor.
To get votes.
You only need 2 people.
You only need 2. You would talk to one of the mayor and then somebody, because you need somebody to support the resolution and somebody to move it.
Right.
Did the CRC have a council liaison?
You mean a staff person?
No, unelected. Did one of the 9 city council sit on or have a tie of any kind to the review commission?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, all the meetings were open. So
right. I just wondered if there was one other than the mayor. I mean, the mayor, would be great. And then if we do we need a second for that or?
No, we're not. I don't think we're asking for the mayor to be a part of the committee or the task force at all.
Just the sponsor, right?
Yeah, just to sponsor the resolution to get the task force established. That's it.
Right. I just didn't know if there was somebody already kind of in the mix, in the arena of election law on the council. But I don't think there is then.
And I'm really thinking ahead too, when I'm talking about the city council, when we're like passing the task force, when we're getting into to the nitty gritty and wanting to really get this passed. That's what I'm thinking about, strategic planning and how we can ensure that we get at least 5 of those votes to push it through. But I know we got to take it a step at a time.
But there's opportunities to meet with the council beforehand in terms of work sessions and get feedback, but we're not there yet.
Got a long ways to go. All right. Is there any other thoughts or conversation about this? Okay. So we already know the next steps. And thank you too for sending this revision document as well. That is going to be useful for us. But if that is nothing else,
I do have a question. I didn't know where it might be for Regina. So I'm trying to get my head around the voting, the texture of the city and the and election law and the votes and whatnot. And so I was looking at some of the numbers and tables. Is there is there a number of voters? I just tend to tell people we have 26,000 voters. I just say we have 40,000 residents, 26,000 voters. I've been saying that for, a year or two. Nobody really questions that, but is there do you have a good number of registered city voters?
Voter registrations change with each election. So that number changes all the time because we have voter registration deadlines. So that's not a number that's written. Right. It's actually changing now with the gubernatorial election because they have deadlines.
Okay. So I do, I'm sure every day the numbers are changing a little bit. So I looked at our November election, and there is a number posted of our registered voters that was like 24 something, and then the turnout report was 27 something, and then the county was at the 26 something that I usually use. and, you know, going forward, do we just have a baseline, or do we, like, what do you all, I mean, is there is there a way to know the actual number? So even if we go to the last election, so even not looking at today, is there a way to know the actual number of eligible voters?
I'm looking here now at it's not to cut you off, Regina, or anything. I just did a little research right quick, and I just saw here the voter registration statistics from the Anne Arundel County State Board of Elections, and it shows here registered voters as of April 19th, 2022. And of course, it's countywide, but they divide it up in precinct. And so if you wanted to take the time to go through this, it'll share that there are over 407,441 registered voters in total across our county. And they divide it up amongst Democrats, Republicans, Green Party, Libertarian, and the others, the unaffiliated. And you can go there and get that information. So if you look up our precincts in Annapolis, you'll be able to find that.
Right, that's the county, right?
Right,
this-
but there are sometimes challenges because some precincts have both county residents and city
And
residents. in them.
yeah.
Exactly. So,
And so Debbie, to go back to your question, what we did was in August, when the ballots went out for the primary, and then again, when the ballots went out for the general, on the day that they went out, that was the number that this county had to send out ballots. So the number of eligible, and there's a difference. You can be a registered voter and not eligible. So if you're 16 and you're registered to vote, you're still not eligible to vote. So that sometimes can throw the numbers off a little bit too. So if you look at the report that the report that the board gave to the work session, I think I put those numbers in there.
Yeah, I saw that's why I got the 24,792, I think.
Right. And then because it is literally a day to day in terms of how many people are signing up. And also, I think it's every other week, the State Board of Elections gets a report from this group, and I'm blanking out on the name of the group, but it's 38 states collectively share information about voting registration. So if you were to move to say Connecticut and register to vote there, Connecticut will notify Maryland that you're now registered to vote. And so that will change it. So it's a pretty, fortunately and unfortunately, it's a fluid number.
Right. So if our, for the November election, our number of registered voters in the report was almost 25,000, 24,800 basically.
Right.
But then the turnout report, you know, that breaks it down by precinct. The turnout report was 27,628. So, you know, that was almost 3,000 more turned out than were registered.
But those were possibly some of the people that weren't supposed to be voting in our election that they allowed to vote by, what is it called?
Well, we didn't have 27 people.
No, we
turn
didn't.
out.
No, we did not.
I know, that's what I'm confused about. And I wondered if maybe it's just me, but the number of registered voters in the Annapolis 2021 general, and I looked again today, the turnout report says 27,628.
Which turnout report?
It's
report for what?
it's online it's on the website, but I also have it. It is where it's broken down by precincts. And then
same report.
And then it has the total.
So I'll go back, and I know that this question had come up before in the past, and there was an extensive study done through the Maryland State Board of Elections that the county assisted us with. And again, it came down to, it was the understanding that this was, again, I'll go back and look at it. Again, a fluid number in terms of the precincts. Some of the precincts don't equal the wards. So the precincts include county and city. And so some of that may have been reported without that differential included in it.
It's the City of Annapolis General Election Statistics Report for 2021.
Mhm.
And it's on the front page of the website. And I think there's 3 or 4 listings and it was the bottom one, but I don't know. That's the,
I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, it's the one by precinct and then the final
Right.
number. And it shows that 36% of the city voted. There's registered 27,628 registered, 9,963 voted for a 36%. You know,
I'll
which
take a
yeah,
look
it's about
and
right,
I'll pull out the things that were done with that. But
Okay.
I know this was a question that was addressed and sent both to the county and to the state. So
Mhm.
I'm just wondering what number between those numbers to use as a guide going forward, even though I know it changes a little bit.
right, the 24, what the number of ballots is how, eligible voters who receive ballots. That would be the number I would go with.
Okay.
Because the others we didn't send out 27,000 ballots. We sent out 24, whatever ballots.
Okay. So I don't know. So those 3,000 people,
It
could
may
they have
have
voted before the ballots went out or something?
I'll go back and see if I can report on our next, there was looked into it. And so that again is I believe an unofficial number. And it was a
Okay.
number that was deemed to have probably been mixed in with other voters.
Okay.
So when they do the balloting and they do the numbers, and we had that double checked, it came out to the 24th.
Okay.
just under
And
25,000.
those people received a ballot.
They received a ballot for the general election. There was much less. It was about, I forget, like 8,000 or 9,000 that received it for the primary because there were only 3 wards.
Sure. And you're qualified to vote if you're registered and a resident and of age. So
Yeah.
that's why some people might not have if they were registered but too young.
Correct.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So we are going to, as long as there's nothing else to be said on any topic of that nature or the main topic that we were talking about with the task force, we're going to move forward to adjournment. The saddest time. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I motion to adjourn at 7:39.
Perfect. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting?
Bye.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Good night. Be safe.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye. Thank you.